Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Martin bringing you guys the latest crypto news and investments. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Monero and why I think it's in a very unique position for the next year or so as an investment and definitely long term past that as well. Um, I think Monero is in a very unique position to really become the next big cryptocurrency. In my opinion, this is one of the biggest sleeping giants of the market at just $140. I'll get into a few reasons why I think that it is very cheap at this point. But if you don't know what Monero is, I'll do my best to explain it. First of all, Monero is the same as Bitcoin in that it is digital cash, but in my opinion, Monero has some very solid upgrades that make it better than Bitcoin. First of all, it's ASIC resistant, so Monero does not have the centralized mining problem that Bitcoin does with China. Second of all, it has dynamic block sizes, so that's a big debate in Bitcoin right now whether 1 megabyte, 2 megabyte, or 8 is the way to go for Bitcoin. So with dynamic block sizes, it also allows Monero to scale very well. Miners can choose to take a bigger or smaller block depending on how many transactions are going through the network. And finally, Monero is completely private, so with Bitcoin, you can see exactly who is sending, who's receiving, and how many coins. Monero, you cannot do any of that. All transactions are completely private. You can't see any of that data, and there's also no rich list. That is, Monero is the only cryptocurrency that I know of that does not have a rich list because it's actually not possible to make one. And finally, or actually, just as an extra thing, this is also a pretty big thing going on with Bitcoin right now. It's the hard forks. Monero actually has very solid developer consensus where they want to take Monero. So Monero does hard fork about every 6 months, and the common misconception is that hard forks are a bad thing when actually they're just software updates. So they're only bad when there's a chain split, and that only happens when developers disagree on where they want to take it. So Monero is really a big contender to Bitcoin in my opinion. And I think that the privacy use case is really not talked about as much as I think it will be as important as it will be in the next coming months. With government regulation coming into the space, privacy is definitely going to be something that people look towards. And say, for example, if I was an institutional investor, I would be looking at Monero as a fantastic investment because, first of all, the circulating supply of Monero is smaller than Bitcoin's. So what that means is that the price, for example, Ripple's never going to hit $100 because there's a huge supply of it. That's why the price is so low, but the market cap is still very high. Monero actually has a smaller amount of than Bitcoin. So that means that this price, $140, could potentially go as high or more than Bitcoin if the market cap or if the market deems that it should be worth that much. So in my opinion, the privacy use case for the market is very underestimated right now. And I'll get into a few other things in a second. One thing that I definitely look at in terms of trading and investing, so this is getting into my strategy a little bit, is first of all, whenever you make a trade or investment, the two things that you should always be looking at is the risk reward ratio as well as the probability. These are two things that you should always be looking at because, first of all, the risk reward ratio, you should always have 3 to 1 or at least 2 to 1. So for example, if you're planning on making 20% on a trade, the most you should be risking or biggest potential loss you should be willing to take is 10%. And that's what makes a good trade, as well as the probability that either one is going to happen. So that also kind of plays into your risk reward ratio, how likely it is to go up as well as how likely it is to go down. And usually you can kind of factor that in with some of the updates and how the market's going to take them. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that you can't predict or you just black swan events, stuff like that. But the probability with Monero to go up, I think is actually pretty likely considering some of the updates that are coming out, and that usually does very well with the market. So first of all, there's an iOS wallet coming out very soon. I believe it's completely done. They're just working on getting it on the App Store. They need their Apple developer license. So once they have that, that should be out. So I would expect that to be done within the next month or two. Obviously, I don't want to talk for the Monero team. If you are looking for updates on this stuff, head over to their subreddit because they're always very good about answering questions like that. Second of all is the open hardware wallet that will be released. And by the way, this was an interview with one of the Monero developers. And third of all, this is third of all is the Kovri update, and this is actually one of the biggest updates for Monero in terms of making it completely private, because right now the only way for Monero to be censored or detected, I guess, is through IP addresses, and Monero is a solution to this that is going to completely hide the fact that you're using Monero or that your IP address can get leaked. So this is really going to top off Monero as the king of privacy, in my opinion. Right now it's in its pre-alpha. I'm not sure how often this gets updated, but yeah, I think we can expect this within the next few months, and the developers will obviously be putting more updates on this in the near future. So, and also I like to show this as well because this is something that is really kind of a slogan within the Monero community. It just goes to show how solid it is. The FBI has come out and said that Monero is very hard to track, and they're not very confident in themselves to be able to do it. This was when the darknet markets were taken down. They were able to expose that X amount of Bitcoin, however much Ethereum, 3,600 Zcash, and an unknown amount of Monero was found. So it really just goes to show that there's really some solid developers working for Monero. They do have a very solid development team. And I think that Monero is just crazy undervalued right now. And the dollar amount, if we actually take a look at the chart, it is creeping up towards its all-time high. Actually, let me scroll out a little bit here. The all-time high of Monero is about 150 US dollars. So we're really creeping up towards that right now at 140. So that's part of the reason as well why I think that we are about to make a leg up. Finally, I just want to say that this is the Globee Secret project. This is how Monero gets its funding for projects. It is all completely community funded. So I think that just goes to show that whenever a community is really getting behind a coin, that it really goes to show how that people believe in it and it has a lot of potential. But to get into what the Globee project is, Globee is a payment processing handler for many businesses, and they obviously can't release too much about it right now. There's a lot of details that they can't release due to they're worried about another project getting in on it. But basically, they want to integrate Monero only through point of sale systems that would allow people to go out and pay in Monero. So that obviously that plus the iOS wallet are going to make Monero really a more of a currency. I think the timeline, they did say that the timeline, they're trying to get this ready for the December holidays. So I'm really excited to see who they're working with, and currently it's November 21st, so we can expect this obviously within the next month. And like I said, I'm very excited to see who they're working with. I think that this news could really drive a lot of hype around Monero, really start to get people on board and see the real potential of Monero. Finally, this is something that I think we should be looking at long term. This is something I would be looking at as an institutional investor, looking at Monero, because if you don't know what the Panama Papers are, they are leaked documents of financial data of people who use offshore bank accounts. So this is people who are trying to avoid paying taxes on their money. So this is a big deal because this is serious money. Like this is they obviously there's no market cap for some of the offshore bank accounts because they're obviously pretty hidden, but like this is serious money that is in offshore bank accounts. What's up? One guy had a net worth of 6 billion, and this is important because as digital currencies begin to gain popularity, I mean we're already starting to see it. 2018, 2019 is going to be very big for digital currencies. Um, I would be predicting that if some of that money came into Monero versus offshore bank accounts, that would be huge for Monero because right now the market cap is 2 billion. So if say $1 billion came into Monero from offshore bank accounts, the market cap would not go from 2 to 3 billion, but since that is such a big percentage of the market cap, we could expect to see the market cap of Monero go up anywhere from like 5 to 10x what it is. Only having $1 billion come in, or I know I'm only saying only a billion, but I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers here to get you guys to think about the fact that as digital currencies grow, without the rich list, Monero could be a go-to for people that, for example, are using offshore bank accounts. So that's serious money. That's just something long-term that I think we need to be considering. Just something for you guys to think about. And like I said, 140 versus Bitcoin at 8,100 right now, with even less supply. I think that this is kind of a no-brainer. Even the updates, so short-term as well as long-term. I think Monero is a great investment at this point. This should not be considered financial advice. You should always do your own research on all this stuff. But yeah, guys, I hope this was educational for you. And hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. I'm out for now. Later, guys.